Okay, so back so I so yeah. By the way, I really love my hair. I love how long it is. I need to take a shower, but it's fine. It's fine. Let's see. It's just let's see. I thought I would just give some perspective. My very first memory coming into the States, like walking. I was in Chicago O'Hare Airport. I was walking and holding my mom. Once my mom, and there were just people. I remember looking around, just people everywhere. I'm just like a sea of people. I'm like looking around, and all of a sudden, there's this group of people, and I come to find out that is my sisters and brothers and my dad. He flew ahead of us, and it was weird. I was like, oh, who are these people? I want my mom. So the only thing I understood at that moment was my mom and everything else, and that was it. Like, that was just it, my mom. And I'm like, I want my mom. And I only like let Emily, my eldest sister, hold me because she was just so soft and warm and just nice. So and eventually, I kind of warmed up to her, and she was just so soft. Oh my gosh, I remember just like, and then I think they thought I was asleep. But then I was like, okay, like a toddler does, like, I'm done, and I woke up. Like, I didn't wake up, but they thought I was asleep, so I go up, and I'm up, and I look at her, and I cry, and like, nope, I want my mom. And fair enough, they perceived that as me waking up and finding out she wasn't my mom. But it was fun. It was actually kind of strange because I got into the car seat, and I remember it was in the very back. It was a white van, and we were in the back, and I was right here on the third back row, and on the Sam Zuxic left side, my driver, same side my dad was driving, and I didn't really like it at first. I didn't want to sit down in another moving vehicle. I just come out, and I'm a kid. I want to move around, and what's fascinating is all of a sudden, as we were leaving, as we were driving like outways, my head just started hurting. It hurt, like really hurt, that I just started screaming. I was in pain, and then out of nowhere, it just kind of stopped, and everything behind that happened, everything past walking the airport onto U.S. soil, it was just gone. Everything was gone, and it was something I never really could grasp and understand what the heck that even was until like years later. And so walking in, Pepper, our dog at the time, barking her little head off, and I got into my room and all that, and so over time it was just staying home and just I was just chilling, and I learned to use the VHS tape. I'd use the TV, get how to switch it. I'm so old. My mom, I think she was we didn't understand depression by that point, so she would often sleep the day away, and we didn't understand what's happening. So sometimes I eventually just got tired of trying to climb all the way up the stairs to wake her up just so I can have lunch. So I taught myself how to cook ramen and make baked potato with the microwave, and that was cool. I was cool with it, and what was fun about it is that because she was so out of it, she just kind of assumed she did, and I made sure to wake her up a few days to make sure she didn't get a little suspicious, because I was that sneaky apparently. And because of a household full of 5 children by that point, it was like people kind of assumed if I could get away with it, like if I did it, no one else was around, I did it, and they would assume someone else cooked my meal. And so they didn't catch on until my mom walked in years later, saw me at the stove red-handed cooking my ramen, and she was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm cooking my food." And she's like, "You can't cook." I'm like, "Where'd you learn to do that?" I'm like, "I've been doing it." It's funny. But because of all this, I early on, I definitely had an independent nature. I would have to say I was very like well at adjusting and figuring stuff out, but I was not. I was a very aware child. I was very aware, but there are clearly things I did not understand, and those will become more evident later on in my life. But what was so fascinating was, throughout my childhood, there's one thing that always just reigned supreme. It was Disney. I would watch Lion King, Bambi, Fox and the Hound, Disney princess movies all day, nothing like it, and it was very fascinating. And I remember years later, my mom said, "Yeah, you drowned your sorrows." I'm like, "You're right, I did." Apparently, I have abandonment issues because of being adopted. So as a child, seeing these characters for reasons outside of their control lost their parents. Specifically, usually it was their mother. And like Walt Disney, I think it was very much a coping mechanism, and it was almost like a promise, like it's okay, because despite these characters losing very influential, very important figures in their life, they still proceeded to go after their dreams, and they still fought for what they wanted and believed in, and they made it. And that spoke to me as a child, especially with Ariel. Ariel is the character who, she gave me my voice, and I hope to meet Jodie Benson. She gave me my voice. Alan Menken and Jodie Benson gave me the outlet I needed that really shaped my life. Because I saw a Little Mermaid just grace the screen and just sing and want something, and to go past what she physically can go past, but she physically can't technically at that moment. She doesn't know how, she doesn't know when, but she knows what she wants. And as a child, that really spoke to me, because I think before I consciously knew it, I knew I would see my siblings. They're like 20 to 9 years old, 9 to 20 roughly years older than me, and well, technically 9 to 17 years older than me, so feeling very depleted and not able to do things like them. I think that's where it started. I don't know where it started, but I think a part of me knew something was different, and I wanted more. I wanted to do more, and I wanted to go out and conquer the world. And so it really did speak to me, to see this naive but very curious character willing to rise up and do what she can, and I feeling suffocated into her world that she had to accept. And that was something definitely spoke to me as I grew older. And then Tangled came out, and I think that's why Rapunzel spoke to me so much too, because she came out when I really needed her. It was 2010, so I was 12. I was 12 when Tangled came out, and seeing this poor girl who was who wanted more for herself, who wanted to see more, who wanted to who was constantly told she couldn't. And by that point, I had been severely bullied and told many times by schools and teachers and my peers and family members even that I was not capable. I couldn't just accept it, and I just had to probably hope to get a job and work, just live off insurance or whatever, just accept it. You're not gonna make anything of yourself, or you're not gonna go much in life because you can't. People like you just don't do that. And that infuriated me, and I was like, well, that's nice, I'm gonna do it anyway. So it was really a fight for my life, because otherwise it was just a living death. I could not see for the longest time, especially with the years of severe bullying, anything a life past what I understood, what I already knew. So I became suicidal twice, actually, because of it. And again, being a very aware, very in-depth person, but again, because I like stuff like Disney and all that, I'm not very good at communicating and all that. It was very, very much ignored or non-existent to many. And it became a fight for myself. And fortunately for me, around this time, I met Andrew and Ellen Mahan, who are God-given angels, who definitely helped me find my escape and definitely helped me figure things out, because people didn't know how to explain to me, or didn't know how to really understand. And so they really saved my life. They helped me smile again. I remember very poignantly one time in the kitchen, my mom was cooking, and I was coming downstairs waiting for supper to be done, and I was laughing, I was dancing around being silly, and my sister just was like, why is she acting like that? And my mom was like, oh, that's how she used to act before she became depressed and all that. And I was like, how long was I gone? How long? It's really something, depression and how much mental health does that to a person. It's very sad. I still get emotional thinking about it. It's like, I was gone so long that my own sister, despite not getting along a good portion of the time, couldn't even recognize me. It's very, very telling, very poignant. And so after that, I went through high school, and I, with a newfound like confidence, or trying to, I very much got through it all with adrenaline and power naps, and trying to just get through, do what you gotta do, and it worked. And I remember it was very nice to be able to, because I remember I was waiting in line for graduation. I was the third one before I was gonna go, and I remembered around ages 7, 6, my brother, one of my brothers came to me and said, you're not going to graduate on time. Probably not even going to graduate. And to remember that as I was standing in line, graduating on time, it was very much a, wow, take that moment. And I think I was so ready to be out of there, as I was taking my diploma, and Ellen and Andrew was like, wow, you can see it in the video, and I'm doing this, not because I'm not hearing them. People thought I was like, I didn't hear them, but I was like, no, that's me. I was like, yes, because I was holding on my diploma, and I was like, this is it. That was me acknowledging it, but it wasn't very clear anyway. So it was something. And then after that, I decided to do community college part-time, because it's like, I'm saving money. I'm not going out, and I'm not ready yet. So I think that's been my most wisest. I think that's my strongest suit is wisdom. I am intelligent in my own way, but my strongest suit is wisdom. And because of that, I have become very aware of my shortcomings. But then, because of that, but unfortunately, because of I have that strength, but at the same time, I'm not very aware of handling things outside of my perspective. So when it comes to my perspective and how things work, I'm great. But when it comes to outside perspectives and how I deal with things, it gets the bridge collapses. Let's just say that the bridge collapses, and at best case scenario, it's very rocky, and it's something I'm still going to have to figure out. But point is because of that, I never try to date. I never try to do anything else like that, or because it's like, I don't want to get stuck where I'm from. I don't want to, and it's a waste of time. I don't really see what the point is, and it's very interesting because I work very logically, and I don't work emotionally. Like, I'm very in depth with emotions and how I feel, and I love psychology and sociology and mythology and history and all of that stuff with human nature. But when it comes to stuff like society, it's like, I'm just like I'm like, why would I drink what I would consider cough syrup, which is what people call alcohol? It's just, to me, it's like, if I don't like the taste, why do I need to, make a taste for it? And that's just how I work. but not everyone works like that, and it's just fascinating. In middle school one time there was this couple, and I was like, oh, you're dating? And they're like, yeah. I was coming out late, I was staying up later, but my mom was picking me up a little later that day, and I was like, oh, you're dating? It's like, yeah. And I said, and I was just curious, like, why? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, it's like I just wonder, like, do you like each other? And they're like, well, everyone's doing it. I'm like, yeah, but do you like each other? And they're like, oh yeah, no, sure. And I'm like, wait a minute. But it's like they were cool about it, and but it's just I just noticed where people didn't question things. It was just the way things were. I would absolutely analyze the shit out of it, and probably for better, for worse, to a fault. And because I don't know what to say. It's just the way I work. And then unfortunately, because of that, again, I think what's so interesting about the human brain is when one part is so strong, another part is not as. And where most people's brains, I think, are strong, mine is not. It just works differently, and it definitely shows. And so it's fascinating. So anyway, so I went. I was severely depressed. I look back at my childhood from like 10 years old. I was depressed. I didn't know it yet, but I was definitely, I think it's both seasonal and just depression from various sorts. And I think it didn't help because I was dealing with learning disabilities. And my first kindergarten teacher, she was fine. She was nice. Then my preschool teacher, she decided to lie. She decided to lie and tell that I was not going to pass into first grade because I was not participating. And I was like, wait a minute, I can count this and this when I did this. What is, because my mom came and be like, why aren't you participating in class? And I was like, huh? Wait, what? I'm participating. She's like, no, you're not. I just got a call from the teacher. And to my credit, all I understood, I remember so vividly, all I understood was I was raising my hand. I remember distinctively telling, hey, that's wrong, this is this, because of a book mistranslated error. And she said, oh, thank you for telling me, Olivia. So it's like the strangest thing. I was just like, I just know I've been doing it. And so finally my mom just like looked at me like, well, I'm going to send someone to the school. And I was like, you do that. I don't know what else to tell ya. That basically was my reaction. I don't know if I said it like that. Probably not. But she sent a counselor or somebody in as a child psychologist, I think. I forgot who, but she sent someone in, and she saw, and I remember distinctively, she walked in, and I was like, I am going to freaking prove myself. So we were in a circle, and my teacher was like reading a book and asking questions, and I was raising my hand, and she's like, Alfia, like, I see, you need to stop moving. I'm like, okay, and I would stop moving. I would wait. And then she would turn around. I'm like, wait, no, that's why I have to get. Anyway, so I would move, I would, crawl and try to get like to her attention, and she was like, Alfia, you need to stop moving. And I was just like so devastated. I was like, I swear, because I found I wasn't gonna go to first grade. So I was like, I want to go to first grade. And so I find out years later, when my mom explained to me. But apparently, the lady came to my mother and she's like, she's participating. The lady is lying, and my mom was furious. And this is actually not the first story she's had to deal with at school on racism, by the way. Apparently she had an issue with some of my other siblings with certain topics. It was weird. Anyway, but so she finally had to threaten school with a lawsuit to get me into first grade. Like, fine. And I was struggling. I still was. I very much was. But then they realized around that time they finally got me diagnosed, because in the early 2000s they were just coming into the school districts and looking at children with disabilities and seeing who had it or who not. And that was great timing. So they're like, okay, so they put me through tests, and they're like, okay, she has ADHD, she is dyslexic, and so on and so forth. And those are the two I think I just have. But basically, yeah. And so I'm just So they take me out of school because I wasn't going to get the help I was going to need anyway. For the longest time, I wasn't aware that was a thing. I thought I got kicked out for a long time until finally someone sent me straight. Like, no, we took you out. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know. So after that, I was supposed to be homeschooled. It was a lot of eras, I would say. Sometimes my neighbors we had a cul-de-sac. I lived in a cul-de-sac, so a lot of the kids were also homeschooled. So we were the homeschooled cul-de-sac, basically, and we would sometimes we would go down to this lady named Brenda, and she was we would read Love Comes Softly. We would do work. That was a fun time, it was fine. And then sometimes they would send me up for programs, and those were helpful. But most where my mom was supposed to, again, teach me, she was depressed. But again, we didn't realize that. So she was so tired. And so I was like, at first, I was like, ooh, okay, I'm getting away with this. But then I was like, this can't go on. I'm never going to get anywhere if I don't do anything. So finally, I went to the computer and just started looking up whatever I could find to make sure I was learning something every day. And that was the beginning of my journey of being a nerd. But it worked. So finally, they wanted to get me into 6th grade, and they did get me into 3rd grade. I was a little 2 years behind by that point. And I was like, ee. So and the kids, unfortunately, they put the kids in charge of making sure I was staying up to date when it was the teachers thing, but she didn't have time, she didn't have resources, and it was bad. It was bad. That school closed, by the way. Good, because that was not good. But I felt so bad for the kids. It's like, this is not fair on them. This is not fair on me. But at least I got to not have to work hard. They just gave me the answers. But point is, I was still working on the computer part, and finally when they wanted to get me in 6th grade, this was like a year and a half maybe later, they decided to put me in test to see if I was able to go in, and I passed, which should not have happened, by the way. I think that's a testament to the school system, but the American school system. But I passed because I did enough to get my butt into school. And what's actually fascinating was I was somehow still the best in the class. I was able to do better in grammar. I was in special ed, by the way, so it's like, but I was very good. They even put me into 2 English classes because they needed to challenge me more. So I was taking 2 English classes during 6th grade. No, it's 7th grade. It was 7th grade. And I loved that teacher. She was great. And I also had one of my favorite teachers, by the way, was in 7th grade. His name was Mr. Strout, and he would actually let me come up during lunches, and we would watch like Star Trek or the Musketeers. He was a pal. He really brought history to life, and if he promised us if he finished what he had to teach us, which was the Constitution and all that, he would also teach us the French Revolution. I was so happy. Anyway, so it was great. It was, I think, one of the best school years I ever had. It was the best. He really sold it for me. And I had a great math teacher, we tried, and all that, and it was really good. I had good teachers that year. I really did appreciate that. 8th grade, the bullshit started happening again. I was being severely bullied by everyone, and by the way, I was in a class full of mostly just guys, and that was illegal. But point is, I got by, and I was actually pushed against, thrown into locker twice before we had to threaten with the police to get them off my back about that. And it was crazy, actually. It was really crazy, because the thing is, with these things, all these people were unfortunately part of the Black community, and they were all in my class, and they did not like me. And what was fascinating being Asian in America and Rockford, the school did not know what to do about it, because if I was Black, then they would be like, oh, they'll make them learn amongst each other. That's just the way the culture is where I'm from, okay? That's just where it is. Or if I was white, it would be my fault, and they're just, lashing out, whatever. But or if I was Latina, again, it would be similar to the Black community. But because I was Asian, they didn't know what to do. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know what to do? You just, bullying is bad. That's just simple as that, right? Apparently not. There was a story where finally I was pushed in the locker 2nd time, by the way. So I was so done. I was done, okay? I was done. So I took my bag. I, shoved it against the, tried to hit the kid, and it's like to say, back off. And teacher noticed that, and she stopped us, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I rushed to get to the bus because I want to get home. And I knew this was cause trouble because they thought I was going to fight. And so I told my mom what happened. I told her the truth, and she was like, okay. And then I get back the next day. I was like, hey, so did they call about anything? And like, yes, they did, Alfia. Yes, they did. The 7th grade principal decided to call me and tell me what happened. I was like, yes, she told me the other day. He's like, well, Alfia is not, all innocent. And my mom rightfully was like, oh, okay, tell me, what has she done? She walks too fast. And my mom was like, and that's with the medication. Like, oh my gosh. I love my mom. She's great. I love her. But yeah, it's just fascinating. This problem didn't go away in high school. But what was fascinating in high school, I went to a bad high school. It was not great. But I can't complain because it's the best school I ever been to outside of college. It's sad. It's sad because it's the only time in school where the teachers and staff actually and actively tried to help me and protect me from my bullies. That is sad when the bar is set so low and to the fact that one of the worst schools in your district, not the worst of the worst, but just not the best, is the best school you've ever been to in your entire life. That is insane. Anyway, so it's what was I saying? Anyway, so yeah, it was crazy. I did get my bullies back though. Just I did get one in dodgeball. She was sitting down, just laying about. I don't know why people were ignoring her. Her friends were on my side, and I was like, it was beautiful. Anyway, so I got my little revenge stuff here and there, but I just had to deal with it. And again, being Asian and loving theater by this point, something unfortunately happened. I would never get into the musicals. I would never get into the plays. And I would be like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And just like, nothing. I'm like, then why won't I get in? And it really hurt. And the lady, she was, I don't think she really meant, I don't know if she really meant to or not, but it was really hard on me because it's like, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I get in? What can I do? And again, I had disabilities, so it's like does she know what? I remember going up to her I was auditioning for The Wedding Singer, and I said, hey, listen, I have these disabilities, it's in my thing, can I, I just want to make sure you know. I said, yeah, I know that, don't worry, I'm not going to hinder you on that. I never got in. And I never got into the talent show either. This was run by a different guy, and he never let me. I would sing opera, I would dance, and never got in. And then one day, it was junior year, I decided to not sing classical to show off my voice. And I said it wasn't classical, but technically it was, actually, technically. I sang Let Me In from Rigoletto, basic, whatever. And I got in. I was like, F you don't let me in because I said it wasn't classical, when it very clearly is to anyone who has ears. And I hated it because that meant I had to go up and sing that stupid song, and it did not showcase my voice. I was so mad, and it was just ridiculous. But I do appreciate it. I did get this one compliment from this I think her name was Caitlin. She was in my class, and she's a doll. I still have friends with her on Facebook, and she's wonderful. I hope she's doing well. I think she is. And I remember I was bitching about it, and she's like, well, I liked it. When you come up and perform, you have this grace and air to you when you do it. And I'm like, I never forgot that. I really appreciated that. That was really nice of her to say that. I'm like, I needed that. I didn't know if I needed it back then, but I did, and I appreciate that. And so, let's see. And anyway, so, I finally graduated, and, I tried to go up for community theater and at Starlight, and I never got in. I could never get in, and I did CYT, I did Gateway up from our studios, and they don't care about who you are, what you look like. They don't give a shit. Like, they literally did Hairspray and had a, like, I think she's like 6 foot girl who's a dancer. Love her. You know, her name's Sunny, and she's amazing. And Andrew, because they're in everything basically. He had casting director come up and say, I never would have casted her. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're so much into your own box of what is familiar. He didn't say that, of course. He was like, thank you. Anyway, because he's more gracious than me. So, anyway, so I couldn't get in, and I would always ask, okay, well, do you have any notes? What did I do wrong? What can I do better? I never got anything back. They're like, oh, you did fine. I'm like, okay, then what can I do? What did I do? Like, oh, I don't know. And I know these people aren't bad people. They're good people. I know these people. I've seen some of these people. I even worked with some of these people in other productions. So it's like, it's not like they don't know me. They don't know I'm not capable, but it's just so strange. And unfortunately, it comes down to that again, because I'm Asian, but not just because I'm Asian, because that's just not it. I'm also very small. I'm a very tiny, very short, very young looking Asian, and unfortunately that it hinders anything I want to do in theater, apparently, at least in the idealized. It's not what we have seen before, so it's not what we're comfortable with. And I don't think people are either aware of it, or they don't want to admit themselves or out loud, or they aren't aware of them themselves. I don't know. But with these people, I know they weren't meaning to be like racist or unintentionally. I know that. So it's such an inconvenience and of a double-edged sword. It's so strange. So finally, I decided to go out to I didn't bother to go do this other one called Studio theater thing, because I've heard many reports that's just like CYT or a Starlight, where it's very like favoritism reigns. So it's interesting. So I had to like drive out to Byron, which is half hour, like 30 minutes away basically. And I finally got in to do Into the Woods. It was my first role ever, and I wasn't the background ensemble anymore. I was a role, and I was like, holy shit. And it was a nice triumph for me. So I was burning gas to get there, making sure and doing the best I could. I don't think it wasn't as great as I would have liked to have been, but I'm so new and I did the best I could, and that's what's important, because hello, it's an opportunity and it was growth. So I did it, and I think I really liked it. I liked how I was in the tower, and they'll come down in the second act after she would grab my hair before she would cut off and stay with me, and I would notice people like, and I thought at first I didn't really know what was going on. I was like, I just kind of figured, yeah, like, oh my gosh, this is a scene, it's, oh my goodness. But apparently they're like, apparently they've seen me in the tower sing like an opera singer, and then they see short little me coming out, being dragged out, and they're like, they hired a child? They hired a child? Okay, that's new. It's just okay. It's like, okay. And it's theater. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck. And that's all that matters. Like, that's the way theater works. But unfortunately, the mindset has still yet to become more. Anyway, we'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so now I'm here in Colombia trying to do my best, and I am. It's like we're all here doing our best to find our way, and so yeah, that's my journey. And really, it's been a roller coaster. It's been a journey. I think that's just the best word for it. And it's kind of strange looking back. It's people will be like, oh, when I was a kid, or this is my childhood, and to me, my life is not childhood and adulthood. to me, it's eras, it's stages. It's each certain journeys were different. They had different meanings, different feelings. I can remember this journey when I was 5. I remember this journey when I was 6 and 7, and then I remember this journey when I was specifically 10. 10 was a rough year for me, and 11 was a little easier, and 12 was boring, and but it's like. But the thing is, a lot of them meshed together, and because there were eras, there were times in my life where I felt this, where I was struggling with this and needing that, and during all that, I have been very, very blessed to have a loving support system with my parents and with Ellen and Andrew Mahan, who are amazing, yeah, and my friends, like, some of my friends would be like, Afia, you're going to be famous. I'm like the confidence in those statements. I always get that, like, sometimes, not always, but like, I would get those, and it would take me aback, like, you're really sure about yourself on that one? Like, yeah. I'm like, thank you. It's just like, it's a very an honor to have people in your life genuinely think you're actually going to make it. So that really does help and go a long way. I remember one time in class, it was choir, it was senior year, and I finally got to sing. We all got to sing a song, and I got to sing a song my way for once, and everyone was like, she can sing? I'm like, yes, I can sing. I'm choir, aren't I? Anyway, it's strange. Anyway, I don't know what to tell you on that one, but I remember, like, maybe a year later, I was in Barnes & Noble's, and I saw one of my classmates, and he recognized me. I was like, oh, hey, yeah. And he was like, are you gonna do opera yet? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna try. And he's like, well, you're gonna make it. And I'm like, oh, really? I hope so. I was like, no, you're gonna make it. And I was like, I heard you saying you can make it. And the insurance, that guy, I don't know that person. He was my classmate, that's it. And for him to just take that moment was like, no, you got it. I really do appreciate that. So, and that's one thing I think I definitely really, unfortunately, was wise enough to take into account is remembering the little things like that, because I think it's we always think of fame and fortune, especially fame, and have it all, and to me, it's really more of just making it, but if I make it, I want to be ready. I remember around 10, I signed up for this World Championships of Performing Arts program, and it was a bit of a waste, but it was still it was an adventure. So it wasn't too much of a waste. So me and my mom went to California. We did the thing. I didn't make it past the first regionals. I was the only one who didn't make it past the first regionals. By the way, again, the head ladies who ran the whole thing, by the way, whole year never paid attention to me. They're like, oh, okay, that's nice stuff, and they paid attention to their favorites, and they heard me sing and perform on my time, and they're like, oh shit, and it's so strange. I'm starting to see a pattern here. Anyway, so well, what was I saying? Oh yeah, anyway, so, but, it was I really do appreciate this because it did teach me something. I realized I was not ready to be famous, because even if I was so talented that I became famous on the spot, I was not prepared mentally. I was like, no, I want to live my childhood. I'm not, this is not what I want. I want to pursue this, but not now. I was like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not mentally ready. I'm not, and I'm glad I didn't make it, because this is not the time for me. So I think that was a nice moment of wisdom popping in there, and so I was like, okay. And then a little later, Mom was like, this could be a thing. I want you to try that. I was like, sure. And that is when I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And it was very well versed. So I think that's why now it's like, if I make it, great, but I want to be ready. Because if I'm not ready, then I'm not worthy. Like, I know I'm worthy, and I think anyone who really sets their heart to it is worthy, and I really hope they do make it. It's hard. It really is a hard business. It is, but I don't want to make it and not be ready. I'd rather live happily with people I love, trying to make it rather than not be ready and just struggle with fame pounding and in all of its pros and cons. And that's not living. If I'm gonna have to face those problems and the pros and cons, then I want to be ready for it, because otherwise what's the point? It's like anything else, it's life. And I hope to, become like an opera singer, do voice acting, write my books, hopefully get them published, and I hope people will like them. And yeah. I remember finding out opera. I noticed very early on I had a good voice for classical stuff, and I was like, no, I want to sing. I want to belt. I'm like be like all the rock stars and pop stars, and but I enjoyed it. I was like, I'll do both. I can do both, because why not? And then one day, I read Phantom of the Opera, because it was middle school era time again, and I was like, I need to read classics, because I'm never gonna have this opportunity again, and I need to read now. And by the way, at Target they were selling them for $1, so I would, for a while there, so I would go and get as many as I can. Secret Garden, Pure Pam, Wizard of Oz, Phantom of the Opera, and then there was other stuff too. I don't even remember how, but I remember I would read the classics, making sure I got as much classics as I could, and so I was like, I'm pretty sure there was a movie about it, and there was. I don't even know how I remember that, because it was back in 2004. Because I remember I was like, I want to see a movie like it's not for you, because I was tiny, and I was like, you're gonna be scared, and they were right. I wouldn't have not liked it back then, but I watched it, and I was singing. I was like, I sound better than her, but I thought that was pride. I thought that was like arrogance. Like, okay, calm down, Afia. Calm down. So I was just singing to myself, and one day my dad came knocking at the door, and I was like, oh, and I paused the TV. I get up, I open the door, and he's like, wait, that was you? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I thought that was her and you were you. Like, I thought she was you and you were her. And I was like, no. And I was like, and it's like, oh, anyway, I had a question. Like, what do you want to do for dinner? So we made up what we were gonna do for dinner. I closed the door behind me, and I'm like, I think I got something here. So I enrolled for classical singing, like with Ellen Mahan, and see what I got, and then I did with her for a while, and then she let Andrew take me on, because I wanted to get from classical to opera, because they had to, strengthen my skill, and yeah, the rest is history. And I realized the thing is, the reason I think I like opera, despite being extravagant, because come on, I'm a queen, I love extravagance, let's be honest. But I think I like it because it's basically a musical on steroids. and it's just, unfortunately and fortunately, opera is a better opportunity for me, because for years opera has always been not giving 2 cents on how old you are, what you look like, if you're fat, if you're skinny, if you're short, if you're tall. They don't care. If you can play the part, if you can sing the part, they really don't care. You can literally see 50-year-old women playing ingenues as 30-year-old men play their love interest. No one cares. And it's nice to know that the opportunity is there. While it's Broadway, West End, and all the other theaters of the world in terms of musical theater are very much behind the times when it comes to this line of thinking. It's very fascinating. Opera was here first, and yet it's always been rather ahead of the game, and it still is. But unfortunately, because of the elitist attaches them in the way cartoons have portrayed it, and the way we tell children to feel about it, they're like, oh, opera is that, lady, old lady screeching, the fat old lady screeching, and I'm like, no, that's no, but you do listen to heavy metal, so that's very fascinating and hypocritical, by the way. But anyway, so, but like anyone who knows heavy metal will tell you, like, no, they're not stupid. They don't throw out their voice dumbly like that. They're trained. I'm like, yeah, so is opera. Anyway, side rant over. But yeah, that's more or less been my life. I don't really know what to say other than that. I don't know if you can hear my roommates. I'm just trying to film here and get everything done, like, because, I really don't know what this, Okay, anyway, I really don't know I really don't know what this documentary is, but it's more like, what does it mean to be Kazakh in America, where if you Google it at present, it would say like there's 300 Kazakhs in the States, and there's like, I don't know, 1,000 or 3,000, 5,000 like Germany or Europe and all around the world, and it's so strange because it's what do you mean? Because it's like, it's so weird because it's like I'm adopted, but I'm not, my parents are born here, they're raised here, and I was born in another country. So when you're growing up in a house full of people who are American, they're all Caucasian American, and you're just Asian, but the thing is, you're not thinking of that as a child. You don't care. I remember specifically I was watching Beauty and the Beast, and there was like Belle, and I was like, oh, I love Belle, I'm just like her. And there was an awkward pause, and I was like, yeah, I'm her. And like, oh, you know, and I'm like, because I'm a child. No child's gonna think of things like this. So I said, yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, why do you think that? I'm like, well, she has brown hair. I have brown hair. And you're like, yeah. I'm like, well, she has brown eyes. Yeah, I have brown eyes. And like, yes, but I'm like, but what? It's like, what? I mean, don't you like Mulan? Don't you like Mulan? You like Pocahontas? You like those two, right? And I'm like, no, I mean, they're fine, but no. And they, one of my brothers, I won't say who, same one who told me I wasn't gonna make it, graduate on time, by the way. Yeah, he's a sexist jerk. Anyway, he decided to take me to the bathroom and put me on a stool in front of the mirror and said, what do you see? And I said, me. And he said, what else? I'm like, anyway, and he introduced me to the concept of Asian eyes. He showed me that I am going to have to be more like Mulan, because if I'm going to look like a princess, I just look like Mulan or Pocahontas, but mostly just Mulan because she's Asian. And that devastated me. That killed me so hard. I remember just crying. Like, I wanted to cry. I wasn't much of a crier. I was an angry little child. When children cried, I got angry. Anyway, so I was so devastated. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I don't think a child would know anything other than to just be stunned. It was very sad, and because of that, I became very resentful of Mulan for years. Because people didn't mean any harm by it. They're like, "Oh, your favorite princess is Mulan, right?" And I'm like, "No, it's not Mulan." It's like, "Oh, okay." And because I felt trapped, and I was very angry because I felt like Ariel and Rapunzel and Belle, really, they were trapped in this box, in this world they were told they had to accept. And again, and so I was like, well, that's not right. So for years I resented Mulan with oh my god, I did not like it. But then finally, as I was getting therapy, I realized I don't hate Mulan. I'm just angry at the world because they have regulated me to like Mulan. They have expected me to like Mulan, rather than saying, what's your favorite princess? Like, your favorite. It's crazy. And by the way, one of my favorite characters growing up was Lilo, because small little child, and Nani, and a great representation there. But again, nothing really much outside of that. And what I've noticed, fascinatingly enough, is Jasmine is the only Asian, at the time, for the longest time, is the only Asian character Disney really put magic into, and good grounded personality as well, but not making too serious and too like because it's always the ethnics who are serious and not the white princesses in the ballroom gowns and all that. Anyway, but it's it's very disheartening, basically. And so I realized I needed to kind of rethink things, and fortunately, again, Andrew has helped me with that, so it's fascinating. Anyway, what was I going with this, by the way? I lost my train of thought. Yay, ADHD is so much fun. Yay! Oh, what was I saying? Oh, I really did appreciate Moana when she came out, because I was like, oh my god, a princess with wisdom? That's so nice. And it's like Asian, well, Polynesian, technically. Polynesian, but it's an ethnic character who's not relegated to being serious, even hardworking. Yay, for once. Thank you. Because, I mean, great, we love Esmeralda, we love Kira, we love, like, Nani, we love Mulan, we love Tiana. But, come on. Anyway, so it's just nice to have that fresh breath air, sea salt air. And, yeah. Boy, yeah. But yeah, so yeah, growing up with all those things just piled against you, it's just, it's interesting. So then you're like, eventually, my parents decided to do 23andMe, and I found out how much Kazakh I have and all that other stuff, and it was quite sad, because I remember, I didn't know there was an international branch of it yet, so I was looking online, and I saw there was nothing for me. There was just the Carlsons and who they were related to, and there was a point where I was like, where's my family? I would like to know if I have a sister or brother, or where's my parents? Did they ever have other children or anything? And there was a moment where because I don't want children, by the way. So there was a moment of, am I the last one? Am I the only one left? And that's a very, very, very sinking, disheartening feeling. It's am I the last? It was almost like I was an island, and there was a mist of other slew of islands, but there was not that one. There was no lighthouse out there, the one across a vast sea of mystery. And because beforehand, Kazakhstan was just a stone throw away, because it was easy growing up to just like, oh yeah, I'm adopted, and move on. I never really talked about it. I was like, oh, I'm adopted, that's it. The introduction, that was my introduction to growing up. Hi, I'm Afia, I'm adopted, I was going for cousin, that's it. That was it. I didn't really care. I mean, sure, it hurt that was a given up, but I mean, that's really it. I never really cared to talk about it, because I didn't really feel there was a need to. Because why would I talk about it? I love my life. I was given love. I was given support from my parents. I had toys. I had shelter. I had education. I had freedom. So it's like when it was always so fascinating to me seeing children in movies or children in real life like, oh, my parents didn't want me to, and they were so sad about it. And granted, that's valid. But me, I just took things differently. My viewpoint was different. So I was like, oh, well, I have a good life, and it's like I'm happy. It's like I don't really see the point in crying over spilled milk. But that was just my perspective. I didn't see it like they did. So it was very different. And so what was I saying? ADHD. Oh man, I lost it. Oh yeah. Anyway, so it's just this. So what was I saying? Anyway, so there was this Anyway, so for me to be an island, basically the swamp, practically looked like a swamp, just mist all around, but it was a vast sea of a mist, and I was like, am I the last? Am I the only one? It came down to my parents, like, because it was easy to push it back, because it was Kazakhstan, and the whole concept of finding my family and all that was easy to push away, because that was, it was easy. It was like, details, it's fine. It's like, I'm never going to find it anyway. I don't have to find it. It was easy. But when technology grew and advanced to the point where the world became so much more smaller, that people were finding their lost relatives and all that, it came to like, oh my God, am I the last one? Am I alone? And like, because am I the only one of my family? And I came down to my parents and I was like, I told them about this. Like, wait a minute, I feel like I'm almost alone. And my mom was rightfully understandable. She's like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. And my dad was like, oh, it's okay. My dad was the last of his family, and he meant well. He meant well. But it's like this isn't the same as growing old. And he has children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-grandchildren possibly, I forgot, to like pass down. It's like, that's not the same thing, because he will continue, really. It's like, fine. And he's not alone. And so he meant well. My mom promised she would buy the international package for a month and see if anything bites, and that's great. But it's just so fascinating, because growing up at first, it was so easy to push away the pain. I could drown it in Disney. I can, and singing songs and, laughing with characters and seeing them grow and find their happily ever after. But after a time when technology says, oh, you can find your family a lot easier now, and the world is just more connected than ever, it's I don't really know the word to say and describe it. It's gut wrenching. It's sinking. It's like, am I the last? I'm like, now I know how Aang from Last Avatar felt. It's like, holy crap. It's so strange. I don't really know if anyone has ever felt this, because when you're the only, like, think about it, the only person, you don't have family, nothing, and you're not gonna have kids because because you're not gonna be a good parent. I don't think I'm be a good parent, and I don't want to be one. So, but great to those who do, good for you, but not for me. I'm just not made for that. And it is so almost, I kind of get it now, like with legacies and dynasties. It's really is human to want to continue and to live on, and the best way of that for everyone is to have children and and it's just interesting. So it was something it's something really hard to swallow, but now I know it's like more than likely I do. I just haven't found them yet. I just need to pay for that stupid international thing to get that, hopefully. But it's really a fascinating concept, because what do you do when you're living in a country who does not have resources for the country you're specifically from? They have it for like England, Europe, some parts of Asia like Korea, Japan, Middle East, maybe, sure, especially because of the politics in the early 2000s, and a lot of studies have been done. But when it comes to my country, it's completely like not in the public conscious. So of course they're not gonna, anything they know about my country, like, oh, Mongolia, no, it's the same thing, no. It's not. And it's kind of like saying France and Spain are the same thing. It's like saying Germany and Sweden are the same thing. You would never say that, because you understand enough to know they're they're differently individually, and individually different. And so it's just sad and disheartening that because of that. And so it's like, what do you do? And then you're told, you're American, but then it's fascinating, because then you got stories of immigrants and making it, and their families and their grandparents coming here, and you're like, you're the first. What does that mean to be the first? You're adopted, you're the first of your generation, you're a first generation of American, but yet your culture has been very vague and not very distinguished or defined. And so what do you do? What can you do? That's the question. And you can't do much. You can't. It's a strange gray limbo area that I feel has not been explored much, because what do you do? What do you do when your resources in a time of technology is so limited and so predominantly American perspective, and you just don't have that outlet? And then you got to deal with being American, and you're like, yeah, I'm living here, I'm trying, but then you got all those crazy stuff, you know, and all that other stuff, political and religious and and then you're in a family, a structure with family with people with who don't share the same thought process or traits or likes and dislikes, and they act differently. And you can see the traits of family. You know, like they have these tempers, or they're very stubborn, or they're prayerful, and they typically like cold weather, or they, you know, and they, you know, it's and then you're just here. Like they got a lot of my siblings. You know, my mom's, you know, has gluten free. You know, she's gluten intolerant, and you know, and one of my sisters is gluten intolerant, and some of my nieces are gluten intolerant, and they just have all these allergies or something whatnot, and it's just, I'm over here like just watching it all happen, and it's like, it's just one of those things. And sometimes it's just so strange, and sometimes I even forget I don't look like them a lot, actually. Sometimes I forget because I just don't think about it. It's like, so it's so strange, so it's just so strange, because I'm like, yeah, I'm part of the family, great, because they raised me as part of their own. There never was, you know, you're not, you know, blood related. It was, you're a child, end of story. That was great, and that was very healthy. And so sometimes it's like I catch a reflection growing up, and I would see me with my family. I'm like, right. Right. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like, oh, right. But I think partly what made it hard was one of my other siblings, who was adopted from Russia, looks like she's related to them. She looks like she is their child, and she knows it. And so for me to be the only one left out in the way it looked, it kind of made it a little harder to swallow. And so it just, there was a further dissonance, and I know that wasn't intentional, but it's something you're just going to notice, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just something that happens. And then you got and then you know, it's very fascinating also, even too, because then my sisters my sisters started having their own children, and you know, you see them, you know, they're like blue-eyed little girls with blonde hair following around their mommy, and you know, and it's very sweet. And then I saw my adopted sister have her child, and freaking copy of her mother. Yeah, you don't need a DNA test. That's her child. And it's just, I don't know, it's a little surreal to see, because once again, you're seeing family and genetics and looking like come into play, and then it comes down to you over here just existing. And I know it's never the intention, but again, you can't help but notice. I really don't know if I'm being clear on any of this, but it's just whatever it is. I remember, what's another thing? Let's see. I had another story, but, yeah, I think I know why my mom gave me up. I think it's the same reason I don't want children. She just knew she wouldn't be a good fit for me anyway, even if she wanted to, and she knew I would have a better chance in the orphanage to get a family. And I think when my parents came from America, she's like, bingo, she's gonna have a better chance now. And I like to think that's the reason. But I'll probably never know, and it's all right. I've been coming to the understanding of who I am with children, and like what I want in my life with children. I think it was also a gift to go more of understanding and maturity. Go, that was probably where my mother was coming from, and it was a very nice moment. Very, I understand, like very understanding, very and it's interesting. Trying to think of anything else. But yeah, I sometimes feel, I think the best way I can describe my birth mother as her as the idea, like the concept. She's really just concept in my life, but I always feel like I'm haunted by her. Like it's almost like she's a shadow. She's a part of me, and it's strange because I have nothing to go on. It's so, because I have people like, oh, I wonder what my mother is, but it's not. She's never really been more of a person. She's always been a shadow. She just haunts me, and I can push her away some days, and some days, I feel the pain worse than others, and I just deal with it in my own way. It's strange. It's kind of strange because I like to bitch about a lot of things. I do. I bitch about my family. I bitch about situations, whatnot. Just like whatever. That's just me. But when it comes to her, I really don't have a reason. I never really saw a reason or worth ever to just cry over spilled milk, because I think it's something I don't understand. I think that's where I come from, because like I can understand my family issues because I understand, I grew up with it, and it's like, who doesn't need to get stuff off their chest here and there. But for her and being adopted, it's like, I don't understand. I don't remember anything. So I don't see what the point is. Like, I don't have a right, really. I don't really have a really reason. And it doesn't really make much sense to just, why would I ponder on things that's not going to do me any good? It's not. So it's just how that is. But I hope she knows, or she feels. Sometimes I wonder if she senses that I forgive her, or that I've learned to get past the trauma and just be like, I understand, thank you. And maybe she'll see this. Maybe she'll be like, oh my God, I think that's my chest or something. And so who knows? Maybe she has ADHD like me too. It is hereditary. It would be a nice aha moment. So yeah. So I'm very American. That's very, very sure. I have American traits. I'm very dramatic. But I think meeting those Kazakh girls, wonderful girls, have given me some light on who I am also as a Kazakh, and it's very fast. I had a lot of moments, and that makes sense. That's where it came from. So it was very nice and fulfilling to finally get some answers. It was, I binged, one of the first things I binged so hardly was Anastasia by 20th Century Fox. Not Disney, they didn't make it. Anyway, and that song, Journey to the Past, and that line, home, love, and family, there was once a time I must have had them too, and home, love, family. And even though I have home, love, and family, I always have, and I know it, and I'm grateful, and I'm very, very grateful. That's one thing I dislike about some adoptees. I hear they're like, oh, my parents didn't want me, and yet they have this good life, and they still want to play the victim. And I'm like, get over yourself. The children are dying, children are starving in America, and they have their families. It's just, get over yourself. And I don't mean to be, because it is dramatic, it is hurtful, and I understand, I lived it, but I think it's very distasteful when a child has been given a life, and wonderful life at that, and don't take the time to appreciate. You can hurt. I understand if you can want to cry, rant. It's okay. You can do what you gotta do, but you can't stay there to a fault where you're just, that's all you are. That's all you want to be. And I think that's where no, we owe it to ourselves as well as others to stand and rise up from that. And you can cry your tears, do what you gotta do, but also don't stand there, move forward. And that's what you gotta do for yourself, especially, because otherwise, what was all that sacrificing for? What was giving you up for? What was, even if they didn't want you, even if that wasn't their intent to care about where you end up, it's still something you owe yourself. And I wish people would understand that a little more and appreciate the things they have in life, because then maybe we would be a little less a little less hateful and spiteful, you know? It's quite sad. Yeah. I don't know if I really want to talk about this on the documentary. I don't really know if I want to talk about this, but one of my siblings learned my language. She got the chance to go visit my country twice even. She spent mostly with Russians, and so she didn't really get that much of an understanding. She stayed with a family. The woman with her children, they had just moved from Iran, so the woman was Iranian and the father was German. He was, born and raised, and so the woman didn't like my sister. So my sister, I think this was the first trip. She didn't really have a fun time with that family, unfortunately. But she got a chance, and I don't know if that's the reason why she lashed out on me. I don't think that is, but yeah. But she learned my language, both Russian and Kazakh, and met few important Kazakh people. Apparently got us, but she stayed mostly with the Russian Orthodox villages, but I didn't know that. So she would come back and just toil with me, telling me, oh, well, your country and all that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so give me some answers, please. Like, Oliver, may I have some water? And she's like, no. It's like, well, can I ask a question? She's like, sure. And I'm like, can I, like, and what do you mean by that? And I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean by that? Like, what's it like? What's the weather? What's the food? And she would be purposely vague, and finally it came to a halt where one day she, in so many words, but not straight out, of course, because she's smarter than that, called me the R word, like a retard, basically, and like, you're not smart enough. You're too American anyway, Alfie. You're not Kazakh, okay? And I was like, oh my god, this bitch, and this German bitch, oh my god, like, we want to play it like that? Anyway, but then she turned to her own child and degraded her for a grade, and then compared it to her sister, which is 4, by the way, so she was in preschool. So it's like, that did it. I was so mad. I was like, okay, now this is personal, because I guess it's easier to take it rather than see innocent children take it. So she's a Karen. Anyway, so I lashed out by sending gifts, and alongside those gifts were T-shirts that I got off Amazon, because I'm not going to spend money on custom-made shirts, hell no. But because it was on Amazon, I thought it was a all-around joke anyway. So I sent those shirts in, and that called her a Karen, and yeah, she did not like that. So I got disowned. Fun. She's like, you'll never see me with those children again, because you're just evil. And I said, oh no, well, that's unfortunate. And she was like, you don't even care? And I'm like, well, boundaries. If that's what you want, that's what you want. I'm going to respect your boundaries. But I love those kids. But for mental health reasons, I am not wasting any more time. I'm just done with that bitch. Anyway, like, yeah, like, how do you like, Lily? How do you emotionally abuse a disabled child who is 15 years younger than you for years, and just be like, what? You're not letting me emotionally abuse you anymore? And this must have been, I think this was the first time in her life that someone told her no. She had great grades, she got to do everything she wanted, she got a loving husband, a great family. It's like her life is good. So she has no real reason. Her family has always given her what she needed. She never wanted for anything growing up. And so I think it's fascinating, because I think the one person in her life who she deemed inferior to her, and because they're disabled, then is the first to tell her straight up no. And I think that is the win right there. So yes, So, you know, and you know what? God bless her. You know, you have to be a very sad person to have all this and not care and think you're justified and that you're the victim rather than, you know, owning up to your own mistakes. So, for someone to be so sad and such a small person, I think I get it now. I'll always be upset and angry and hurt, sure. But at the same time, you know what? I got a life. She's got a life. She can live it. I'm living mine. And but because of that, it was very freeing. Because for the first time, I was reclaiming. That was the first step. I reclaimed my identity as my heritage that she tried to steal from me because control. And I was like, no, this is mine. You have no right to take it from me. I remember telling my mother, like, she stole my heritage, actually. She, you know that, right? And she was like, yes. Yeah, okay, yes. But I'm like, no, this is not cool. So it's just insane. It's insane. It's like, I barely have resources to begin with. And this person thinks it's all right to just withhold information that would help a child, rekindle with their, culture. And it's just insane that this even happened. So it's like I'm in a world of culture that doesn't have links to my past. I'm surrounded by another culture, in like a predominantly middle class white family, and I have no one that looks like me around. And then I'm told I can't do this because I'm Asian, and I'm told I can't do this because I'm disabled, and I'm told I can't do this because I'm a woman, and I can't do this because I'm of a religious nature, so I can't understand. I like everything under the sun, and I think that's a lot of people nowadays. Everyone's told they can't. But these can'ts were just so strange. I think they're just they're these can'ts that I don't see often talked about. There's a lot of people going through all this shit, but this one's strange, and I just wondered, am I the only one? It's like I think this is a little weird. It's so strange, almost limbo effect, because it's not the typical, I'm of this culture, I'm of this minority group, I'm of this background, I'm of weirdly in between spaces. It's so strange. It's like, you're not this, but you're not that, you're not in this category, but you are, but you're not. And it's so weird, and yeah, I don't know what to say other than past that. Because it's like, and by the way, it's very sensitive culture too, and understandably so, because there's a lot of hate and trauma and pain, and so it's very fascinating to see that. And so it's like, sometimes people come to me like, are you Chinese? And like, nope. And are you Korean? I'm like, nope. Are you Japanese? Like, no. Are you from Thailand or Singapore or what? And people don't know what to say. They don't know. And that's fair. That's fair, because they don't know. It's like you can look at a white person down the street. They could be German descent. They could be French descent. You're not gonna know. They just look like a random person. You don't know. And it's like, it's just a person. So I think you just need to chill sometimes. It's like, hey, on another setback, you know what? Fair enough. So it's a strange time. It's a strange day. So, yeah. So that's my journey of being Asian so yeah. Yeah. I am Asian, as I'm literally Asian as they come. Funny story, actually. This is a funny story, actually. First day of my singing auditions class this semester in Columbia, my first semester. My teacher asked us to bring in a song for the first day of what we would like to sing from Rodgers and Hammerstein. And of course, it was like Cinderella, and I wanted to grab something that was not going to be taken out, because there was a list, and I knew people were going to go grab those really quickly. So I was like, well, they did Flower Drum, I'm Asian, and why not? So I I sent it in, and she's like, and I got an email saying, wait till class. And I said, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. So I walk into class, and the lady's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, what? And she's like, oh, okay. Because the thing is, she did her introductory. She explained what the class is, who she is, and explained, and then she went on about music, and then she went on a cultural appropriation. I didn't think anything of it. But yeah, why not? Yeah, because that's part of it. And she was like, the reason I bring this up is because Afia here sent me an email, and she wanted to play about it. I didn't know you. I'm sorry, honey, but I didn't know you were Asian because Carlson. Fair enough. And my name's weird. You're not gonna know where it comes from. It's Tartar, but you don't know what's that. You don't know what that is. You don't even know probably how to say it, depending on how it's spelled. So fair enough. And I forgot my profile didn't have a picture of me either. So I thought, oh, right. She's like, oh, you can sing it. I'm like, oh, yeah, I better. I was born in Asia, so yeah. I was born in Asia, so I'm Asian. And I'm Asian anyway. So it's like, I thought it was so funny. And fair enough. She did what she did. She did what she was supposed to do. The teacher's like, great, let's talk about it first. And so it's like, what was she supposed to do? Like she didn't know. So I think this is one of my favorite teacher, or just favorite stories now. This is so funny. I think it's great to see the humor in it. It's good to see the humor. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. So yeah, I liked it. That was fun. So yeah, you never know.